Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to have a look back at some of the weekend's racing, talk about some of the races, talk about horses for the future, maybe talk about a few that I won't be interested in really going forward. And we'll start off looking at the Reynoldstown, the Grade 2 at Ascot, won by Henry's Friend, beating Kilbeg King with Apple Away back in third. Now for me, this demonstrates that Apple Away is not Grade 1 horse, Grade 1 class. But maybe not so much down here. Maybe the further north they can send her, then she'll be able to dominate and really perform to her best level. I don't think she's good enough down south to be challenging those. They're obviously, well, they're not obviously. I think what they should do with Apple Away is skip Cheltenham again, go to Aintree, try and win a race at Aintree. Obviously they took on Maximilian and Iroko last year in a Grade 1, the Sefton Novices Hurdle, the Grade 1 over 3 mile. That might be the sort of race, or over fences. Obviously they turn up in with Apple Away, but I think she should be kept to the north. I don't think she's going to be good enough. And if we really look at that form, Maximilian and Iroko over 3 mile, would they be challenging the Irish, for example? Or even the best Grade 1 hurdlers and chasers over a 3 mile? Not really, not in my opinion. So with that in mind, Apple Away wouldn't be one I'd be following too much down south again. Maybe if they, she's won at Warwick, she's won at Leicester, at Aintree when nothing turned up, Doncaster up north, Ayr up north. Yeah, I think that's where they can, she's not a bad horse. But I wouldn't be bringing her down south very often. Go and win loads of races with her, just keep her up north. Henry's Friend, who won the race, made it 3 wins on the bounce. I don't think any of these are going to be challenging at the Cheltenham Festival though. Moving on to the 205 at Wincanton, the Kingwell Hurdle, and I was actually gutted with this result. So first of all, Nemean Lion won it, let us down in the Lanzarote, finished second, another one of our seconds. We've had second with in big handicap hurdles. We had second with Nemean Lion, Loaded Sued, bad this weekend. Just keep getting second, really frustrating, and then they'll come out and win graded races or harder races. So Nemean Lion won, beating Colonel Mustard, and I was gutted at how close Colonel Mustard got to Nemean Lion. So I think Nemean Lion is a progressive horse. And he's going to go up in the handicap for that. I think we might see Nemean Lion up to about 150, could even go up to like 156. No, not that high. 153. I think it'll go up 8, and I think they'll put Colonel Mustard up a couple as well. I wanted them to drop Colonel Mustard. I wanted to see the horse, disappoint a bit, finish 4th maybe, and drop a couple of pound. He's not going to win a champion hurdle, Colonel Mustard, but he could have been winning a feature handicap. He's got some good form in the past in handicaps, such as his 146 second behind Rabaul in the champion hurdle, Scottish champion hurdle. That was off 146, ran off 148. I think it's going to go up maybe another pound or 2, which won't help his chance. Whereas if he dropped a couple of pound and then targeted, even targeted the More Battle hurdle again, the More Battle or the Scottish champion hurdle, I think Colonel Mustard would have gone close in those off handicap marks. So I will be checking his handicap mark. Actually, he is. Is Colonel Mustard an Irish? Mrs. Lorna Fowler. Let me just pause the video. I can't find a mark for Colonel Mustard. I think it might be a British trained horse. I don't know where Lorna Fowler is actually based. So yeah, Colonel Mustard was one I was looking out for a handicap mark, but isn't going to get, is probably going to at least stay on the same, maybe go up. And a great performance from Nemean Lion to prove that he is very, very good. Moving on to the 225 at Ascot, I was gutted. I thought they'd thrown everything at bad to get him to win the race, to get him into the handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. I think everything went right, didn't it? Travelled really well. I thought Mott Hill was actually over-travelling. I thought he was keen throughout as well. I thought we were going to beat Mott Hill. I didn't have him down as a danger with about 5 furlongs to go. I thought there was a few others coming behind. Irish Hill, Highland hadn't made his move. I was worried about Teddy Bleu. But yeah, after hitting the front, we hit the front. We went to the lead. We led in even after the last Bad did, and got out battled by Mott Hill. 4.5 lengths clear of the rest. I mean, we had Loda Sood last week, who was like 6 lengths clear of the rest. Bad's finished 4.5 lengths clear of the rest. Very, very frustrating, these seconds at the moment. Let's just rub salt in the wounds, find out what Nemean Lion was. Where was he? When he finished second in the Lanzarote, they were 5 lengths clear of third. So annoying. We keep bumping into one in these big handicaps. So of those in behind, so Bad, I hope they can get him into a race. If they don't, expect to see him in that conditional jockeys race at the end of the season at Aintree, where I still think he will go well. Let's hope he doesn't go up too far in the handicap. What was he rated? Came into this race 122. Let's hope they go +3 to 125. I still think he would be competitive. Of those in behind, Arcoob is definitely one that I'm interested in, potentially at, I would say at Cheltenham, but I don't think he's going to get in at Cheltenham. So going left-handed will probably suit him. If you watch his racing, he was definitely lugging badly up the straight and came from a very unpromising position. You can see he was the only horse that didn't trade shorter in the run from his starting price, because he was never in the race to win it. Where do I think they go with him? Well, they're probably going to end up in that Sussex Champion Hurdle at Plumpton, over 2 mile. He does have a bit of form there. Did he run it last year? I don't think he did. They ran Teddy Blue there, who might also turn back up there. But yeah, I thought Bad Hill was frustrating, the run of Bad Hill, in that he ran so well and got beat. Moving on to the 240, we did have the winner here in Botox Haas, proving that he loves his Haydock. He stays 3 mile. He's a proper Haydock 3 miler. Wouldn't be backing him at Cheltenham, and Butch probably demonstrated that he's maybe not up to this class, and the rest are nowhere near this class, to be honest. Moving on to the 3 o'clock at Ascot. This one I was actually a little bit disappointed with, in that Chambleu finished third. Ran a really good race, got backed in, went off 5-1, second favourite. Victorino got absolutely smashed up, went off 2-1 favourite, didn't jump very well at all. If you like Victorino, forgive him that run. Revels Hill, who we suggested might need the run, ran okay for a long way before making a couple of mistakes and being pulled up. I think he'll be back for the Bet365 Gold Cup at Sandown at the end of the season. Chambleu, I just felt Harry Skelton was asking him too early. I thought he was pushing him along quite, even after about a mile. Harry was already pushing him to maintain his position at the front. And I just thought he was a bit aggressive on him, and that probably cost him towards the finish. He only lost by 1.5 lengths, and I think if he'd been given a slightly more conservative ride, I think he would have gone very close there. Wouldn't give up on him, definitely not. I think we'll probably see him at Aintree in that 3 mile race at Aintree at the end of the season. I know he actually got smashed in the Mildmay by 32 lengths, but he did finish second that day, albeit, as I said, 32 lengths behind Chantry House. He has come back and finished second to Chambleu again, second to Sam Brown, sorry. Again, well beaten 15 lengths. Sam Brown was actually quite well handicapped that day. Chambleu was running off a mark of 148, ran on Saturday off 143, off a £5 lower mark. If the handicapper doesn't touch him, if he drops him £1, yeah, I think we'll see him back at Aintree for that 3 mile handicap at the end of the season. Wouldn't give up on Chambleu. Moving on to the 315, Gavin Cromwell. He's doing brilliant at bringing his horses over, isn't he? He's really picking up all the prize money, picking up all the wins, and showing that the Irish horses are better than the English horses. Thought My Silver Lining travelled beautifully into the race. I thought she'd won it when she made her effort about 3 from home. She didn't go too early, 6 lengths clear of third, who's run on quite nicely, Iron Bridge. Clearly wants a full trip, that horse. I'd probably be looking at something like the Ido Chase with that horse next season. I don't think it's going to run this season. There's not a lot really to come out of that race, in my opinion. I don't know where I would go with a lot of them. But yeah, well done to Gavin Cromwell again. Moving on to the 336, the best Betfair Ascot Chase, where there was both a great ride from Harry Cobden on Pic D'Orhy, and I think there was a poor ride from Charlie Deutsch on L'Imprese. Gave away so much ground at the beginning, just meant they were then always playing catch up over a trip that was too short for L'Imprese, and it kind of needed to be kept closer earlier on. You know, stepping back up in trip, L'Imprese will be fine in the Gold Cup. And to be honest, the drift for the Gold Cup, I think, was a very much an overreaction. Shouldn't have drifted him out to what he is. I think he's like 20s. This wasn't his trip. 2 mile 5 is too short for him. He wants 3 mile. He'll get the Gold Cup trip. And I think he will, you know, it was Pic D'Orhy's Gold Cup. Pic D'Orhy won it. L'Imprese, they probably won't be too disappointed with that as a prep run for Cheltenham and the Gold Cup. Back in third was a Hoisinor. I would skip Cheltenham. He's not going to win a Ryanair on the back of that. He's not going to win a Gold Cup on the back of that. Go to Aintree. You know he's got form at Aintree. Last year he was beaten by Shishkin in the bowl. Having been to Cheltenham, I think he did go to Cheltenham. He did go to Cheltenham and fell in the Gold Cup. Now, if he turns up at Aintree off the back of not having had a run, and Shishkin turns up and a few of others turn up in the bowl having been in a Gold Cup, a competitive, hard Gold Cup, a Hoisinor could be able to hold on this time instead of being run down like they did last year by Shishkin. So I would be suggesting to Lucinda to skip Cheltenham completely. You're not going to win a Ryanair. You're not going to win a Gold Cup. What's the point? Wait till Aintree where you do have some really good form. 350 at Haydock. Another one of us. Handicap, I thought I'd spotted why they needed to win a race. I thought I'd spotted also a horse that didn't need to win the race. The horse that didn't need to win the race was Cuthbert Dibble. Off a mark of 133, didn't need to win, would have got in the Pertemps final if he'd finished second, third or fourth. He won the race. Really frustrating. The horse that needed to win the race in order to get in, Lord Snooty. Go back and watch that run. He was badly outpaced turning in. He was about 5th or 6th. I kind of given up on him. I thought he's just not as good as I thought he was. He then started to make ground rapidly down the inside and jumped the last. When he jumped the last, I thought he was going to win it. He was absolutely motoring. I thought Nick took a little bit long to pull his whip through, seemed to be messing around with his hands after the last too long. Lost by half a length, stayed on all the way to the line. Needed another 100 yards and he would have got up to win. So again, another second for us, which was really frustrating. For the Pertemps final, you could be suggesting maybe Cuthbert Dibble is just very, very progressive, but he's going to go up in the handicap and he's going to find things tougher come the Pertemps final, where there's likely to be 3 or 4 that have been laid out for the race. The 445, yeah, the 445 at Ascot was won by Anno Power, not Annie Power. Won by Anno Power, winning by 2 and a bit lengths. Thought that was a very good run from her. I don't know whether they'll go to Aintree. I can't remember what they actually said afterwards. It was a very good performance though. She'd already set a decent 1.4, 1.2. Clearly is a mare with plenty of ability. Moving on to Sunday, we start off in the 135, featuring Mr. Policeman, who won the race. So he should have. It was a very moderate race. They believe that this horse is classy, top class, grade 1 sort of level. He's not beaten anything yesterday. He should absolutely win by 6 lengths. He should win by 12 lengths. He should win by 15 lengths in that type of race. That was not a run suggesting that he is really that good. That was just suggesting he is above average. Arctic Bressil is not yet to win, or he won a maiden hurdle, but then, like last time out, he was finishing 4th of 7 in a moderate beginner's chase. He'd finished 4th of 5 in a moderate a novice chase. I say moderate in terms of his distance to those at the front. Mr. Policeman was the closest he got to horses. And yeah, I would have multiple horses in front of Mr. Policeman on ability, looking forward for like the Arkle and things like that. Moving on to the 235, I just wonder whether they've missed a trick. with Any Second Now. He's ran okay here, finishing 6th, behind where it all began. We'll have one. Clonmene, My Immortal, and Stormy Judge. He's dropped a long way in the handicap now, Any Second Now. Running yesterday off 144, Irish mark 144. Over fences. Now, I wonder whether they've missed a trick by not entering him in the Grand National. There is no way the handicapper could have given him the same sort of mark as he's given him the last couple of years. Running off 144 in Ireland, getting beat, even with his Aintree form, they could have only gone about 150. 150 would have been £17 lower than when he pulled up in it last year, but he went off 14-1, and it would have been £9 lower than when he finished second in it the year before. I know he's 12, but he's clearly got ability, especially over those national fences. I think they've missed a trick by not entering him and just seeing what the handicapper gave him. Almost out of spite because of what they got last year, the potentially ridiculous mark of 167. Yeah, I think they've missed a trick, and the only thing I could possibly think they're doing, they're going to go for the Irish National, where he does have a little bit of form at the course. He beat Iscaria 10 in the Bobby Joe Chase a couple of years ago. He did fall in the race a couple of years before that. That came off a mark of 150. I imagine the handicapper might drop him a couple of pounds again. I don't think he will have done it because it was yesterday. Drop him another couple of pounds to say 142. 142 over a suitable trip, 3 mile 5, which is probably the minimum trip he needs. Everything else has been over too short. You can ignore his 2.5 mile run. You can ignore his 3 mile 1 race. This was getting closer to the sort of trip. And yeah, some late headway never involved. Yeah, just keep an eye out for him in the Irish National instead of the Grand National this year. Is there any other race that he could possibly go in? I don't think so, off the top of my head. Moving on to the 305, a great result for Tully Hill, very, very impressive. Is now, a lot of people are suggesting that maybe Tully Hill's going to end up in the Supreme, and Ballyburn goes the 2.5, is it the Bearing Bingham or something like that, isn't it? I thought the horse he beat, No Flies on Him, was setting a very good standard, so there was nothing wrong with this performance from Tully Hill. It was very, very impressive. For No Flies on Him, I thought that was a good run for second. Obviously, we like that form line. Back in third in the maiden hurdle that No Flies on Him won was Ascending, who is definitely one for a handicap later on in the season, either in Ireland or potentially the county hurdle. So I was pleased to see No Flies on Him run quite well in second. But yeah, Tully Hill, very, very impressive. Definitely has to make your your calculations for the Supreme Novices. Moving on to the 340 at Punchestown now. Pagani won a maiden hurdle. And just keeping an eye on that horse. Now had 4 runs. Now had 4 runs over hurdles. Hasn't been super impressive. Does now qualify for the handicaps. She could now end up in that Martin Pipe at the Cheltenham Festival. Just keep an eye on her. She's just one that has caught my eye. I'm not totally sure I can work out the substance of her form. She's stepped up in trip and she's ran well. The winner, Bioluminescence, of her previous run had some decent form previously. So I just feel that there might be something in this Pagani, and there's one to potentially keep an eye out for. Moving on to the 440 at Punchestown, very, very, without being super impressive, beating Master Boy Davis, I think this was a good run from Sounds Victorious. I think there is plenty more to come from him. He's going to be better in time. Does he end up at the Cheltenham Festival? I'm not sure. Does he end up at Punchestown at the end of the season? Yes. I really think you'll see Sounds Victorious in the bumper at the end of the season at Punchestown, and I think he will go very, very close. I think both the front two are decent horses and will be we'll hear a lot more about them in the future. And finally, the 5:10, which was just a charity race, the up the yard challenge race, was won by the Goffer. And do you know what? I actually think that could be a really clever ploy from the trainer. He's got that horse confidence, got the horse's confidence back, got a win under his belt. It's a strange race to use as a prep run for Cheltenham. However, interestingly, last year, the Very Man won it, went to Cheltenham disappointed, then went to Punchestown, finished second. The runner-up of that charity race was, I'm just trying to find it, where is it? The runner-up was a horse called Scaramanga, who went to Cheltenham and finished fourth in the Coral Cup. And the third horse in that charity race was Gevry, who went to Cheltenham and finished fourth in the Plate. That's what I think the Goffer will do. I think he will end up in the Plate, not the Ultima this year, and I still think he will run really well in the Plate. And actually, that might end up being a perfect prep run, a very bizarre prep run, a up the arch challenge race, but it clearly can work a little bit in the fact that Gevry and who did I say? Gevry and Scaramanga both ended up placing at the Cheltenham Festival, whilst the Very Man ended up placing at the Punchestown Festival. So yeah, keep an eye out for the Goffer. I really like him for the Plate still. So there's a few thoughts, some frustrations with our seconds, a frustration with Colonel Musset getting so close. I hope his handicap mark isn't touched too much. Shan Blue, I thought that was given a poor ride. I wouldn't have gone so hard on him. He'll be back for Aintree, I'm sure. L'Empresse, overreaction for the Gold Cup in the fact that that wasn't his trip. Everything was happening a bit too quick. Ahoy Senor should be weighted for Aintree instead of going to Cheltenham. Gutted with Lord Snooty not getting up. Probably not going to make the Temps final either. Mr. Policeman has not shown Grade 1 form there. Any second now, I think they've missed a trick by not running him in the entering him in the Grand National. Surely he'll be back for the Irish National instead. Tully Hill, very, very good performance. Pagani, just keep an eye on that one. Put that in your notebook. Sounds victorious. I think we'll miss Cheltenham and go to Punchestown for the bumper at the end of the season. And finally, the Goffer. That would be the one strange prep run for Cheltenham Festival, but it might well work.